The Chicago Bears are entering a new era. Justin Fields is in his second season, but his first real year as the starting quarterback and the future of the franchise. There's new head coach, Matt Eberflus, a new offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. There's even some controversy right now with Roquan Smith, and there's a preseason game right around the corner. So, of course, there's no better time than right now to launch the Bears Talk podcast. My name is Brian Perez. I'm the managing editor and founder of BearsTalk.com, and I am so thrilled that you are here for our introductory episode. Episode 0, I guess, is what you want to call it. It's going to be a quick episode just telling you guys what we're all about, what we can't wait to share throughout the season, and all the great things we have coming up. We're going to be officially launching the show next week with some really good guests. We're going to be recapping the Bears' first preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hopefully have some positive news on the Roquan Smith front. But first, I just want to give you a little background on who I am and why I'm so excited to be bringing you this show. I've been covering the Bears for a very, very long time. It feels like forever. I served as the managing editor of BearsWire.com, the USA Today Sports Media Group site that part of their 32-team network with all NFL teams covered. That was such a blast covering the Bears for USA Today. I jumped over from there to NBC Sports Chicago, covered the Chicago Bears for NBC Sports for a while, and that was a blast. Was able to cover some games, become a credentialed member of the media, be in the locker room, talk to the coaches. It was a good time. And I even spent some time over at the Draft Network. If you're an NFL draft fan, then you certainly know the Draft Network. I did some Bears coverage and NFL draft coverage for them. And now it's time to do my own thing here on BearsTalk.com, bringing that wealth of experience and passion and lifelong love for this team to you, the Bears fans. So you can come to BearsTalk.com every single day. We have news, notes, updates going up on the site in real time. You could also sign up and become a member at BearsTalk.com, where you can interact on our Bears Talk social network. That's growing by the day. Bears fans jumping from Twitter and Facebook and coming over to Bears Talk, where you can have an unedited, no problems with how many characters you want to write. Drop some photos, some GIFs. Just do your thing over at Bears Talk social network. And if you decided you want to throw about what's worth a cup of coffee every month into a premium membership over at Bears Talk, you would unlock the ability to actually write for the site. You can become a Chicago Bears writer over at BearsTalk.com, and basically on your profile page in the social network, all of your articles would aggregate there. It's like your own website within a website. Check it out. I built it for the Bears fans. It's by a Bears fan. And that's what we're trying to do here. We want to take back control of the narrative around this team. You guys know as well as I do, the coverage of the Chicago Bears has been pretty negative lately, and it's understandable. The Bears haven't been very good since 2018. And really, 2018 was like a mirage in the desert, an unexpected run deep into the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky, who at the time looked like he was going to be the answer. Matt Nagy at the time looked like the next coming of Sean McVay, but we've learned very quickly that neither one of those things were truths. And here we are entering the 2022 season with a new hope at coach, at franchise quarterback, a new general manager. It's a complete reboot. So, of course, it's time to boot up BearsTalk.com and the Bears Talk podcast. We're on YouTube. Please head over there, subscribe, and like the YouTube channel. We're over on TikTok as well. Follow us there. Interact with us there at Twitter, at the Bears Talk. And that's where you find us on YouTube and TikTok as well. We're going to be very interactive with the fans, and we want to bring the fans' voice to light. I've been a diehard Chicago Bears fan for as long as I can remember. We're talking decades and decades of Bears fandom running through my veins. And you're going to hear it every week, twice a week here on the Bears Talk podcast, where I'm going to bring you fair, honest, sincere criticism and praise of this team, whatever's warranted. If the Bears are playing terrible, we're going to talk through it. We're going to have our vent sessions here on the Bears Talk podcast. If they're playing great, we're going to give them the praise that they're due. We're not going to focus on the bad like some members of the Bears beat seem to love to do. Look, there's two ways of looking at life. You have a glass of water on a table. That glass is either half full, that glass is either half empty. It's the same amount of water in the glass. A lot of the Bears beat writers want to call it half empty. We're going to call it half full here on the Bears Talk podcast. Make sure you're coming back. Make sure you jump on Apple Podcasts. We're going to be in their system very soon. Again, on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to the show. Our first official episode is either going to come on Monday or Tuesday of next week after the Kansas City Chiefs game. We have a really fun interview coming with an NFL draft expert who's going to review the Bears draft class from 2022 and kind of how it's trending right now. A little spoiler here. The Bears draft class is looking pretty good, right? This is a 2022 draft class that could be sneaky important for this rebuild. If you land a left tackle like Braxton Jones in the 5th round, 2 starting defensive backs who have high ceilings, super high ceilings to become game changers and playmakers in the defensive backfield. Who knows what Velus Jones Jr. is going to turn into as a 3rd-round wide receiver with field flipping speed. If you land 4 impact players in any draft class, that's huge. And the Bears have a chance to potentially do that from this year's class. We'll talk to our special guest next week about that. We'll recap the first preseason game against the Chiefs, where a lot of these young guys, assuming they're healthy enough to play, will get some reps. So we'll see real Bears football on the field. One guy we're not going to see on the field, though, is Roquan Smith. And this has become a real issue over the last couple of days. Roquan Smith requested a trade. This is like a stake to the heart of Bears fans who view Roquan Smith as that next in line inside linebacker, right? The guy who is carrying the torch of Dick Butkus, passed on to Mike Singletary, passed on to Brian Urlacher, and now it's Roquan Smith who's been the guy who's been able to live up to the expectations and the standards set by inside linebackers in Chicago. He's not going to be on the field, and I don't think he's going to be on the field for a while. And Matt Eberflus met with the media on Thursday, and he didn't sound like a happy guy when he talked about Roquan not being at practice despite being elevated off the PUP list.
And then also the Roquan Smith, came off a PUP. He was cleared by our medical staff as healthy, and he did not practice. And the reason why for that is you have to ask him. So we expect all of our healthy players to practice, and that's was his decision.
Roquan decided not to practice. For a little backstory, if you guys have been hiding under a rock, Bears fans, and you don't know exactly what's going on, Roquan Smith requested a trade, kind of demanded a trade on Tuesday, and then, trashed GM Ryan Poles. I think it's fair to say he wasn't the nicest guy in terms of the words he chose to use about the Bears not negotiating a good faith, not valuing his services, hoping ownership can kind of step in and take over the negotiation and reach some kind of an agreement on a long-term deal. Ryan Poles, I got to give him credit. Ryan Poles has been helping out Roquan Smith up to this point by allowing him to stay on the physically unable to perform list, which is a designation usually reserved for injured players. It allows them to miss practice, obviously, if they're hurt and they can't play. There's no penalties, no fines, no nothing. You just kind of wait until you heal up. This was a tactic, I think, an olive branch by Ryan Poles. It was something where he was basically telling Roquan Smith, we understand you don't want to risk injury while we're trying to negotiate this deal. You stay on the physically unable to perform list while we get this done. No harm, no foul. Team can't do anything to you. We go from there. And then he gets thrown under the bus by Roquan Smith. And like a good counterpuncher, Ryan Poles comes back the very next day and takes him off the PUP list. And when you're not on that list, you're supposed to practice. So Matt Eberflus, like you just heard, said, hey, look, if you're healthy, we expect you to be out there. And he's not going to answer for Roquan. He's going to let the media ask him questions whenever he's able to, whenever he presents himself in front of the media. It did not happen on Thursday. I don't anticipate it happening anytime soon. Roquan's going to probably stay hiding out until he has his deal locked up or a trade is resolved. It's going to be resolved either with a new contract or a trade. So whatever happens with this Roquan Smith story, we are going to be following it here in detail and with passion on the Bears Talk podcast. We're going to be talking about it next week and for weeks to come, hopefully, because a long-term deal was hammered out between the Bears and Roquan. If a trade happens, we're going to talk about that too, because that's going to have a very long tail in terms of the impact it'll have on this organization. like the show, subscribe on YouTube, head over to Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to this show, give us a 5-star rating, even though we haven't even launched our first episode yet. Do us a solid, Bears fans. We're going to be coming here every single week, bringing the passion for you to enjoy on your way to work, while you're in the gym, whatever it might be. We're all going to bear down together. Make sure you come back next time to the Bears Talk podcast.